I started this week by writing about the falling U.S. drilling rig count. As you know, we saw a wipeout in drilling rig counts through the pandemic, a slow but steady recovery into new highs by the end of 2022. Then we saw a more or less flat period into the first quarter of 2023, a step down in drilling rig counts through the middle of 2023, another plateau through the end of 2023 into the beginning of 2024. In the past 3 months, we're seeing yet another step down in the U.S. drilling rig count. This is not surprising. This is expected. Frankly, we heard oilfield executives talking about the importance of international and offshore markets because they knew the U.S. on the whole, U.S. land specifically, was going to be problematic in terms of trying to squeeze more activity out of that market. Um, the Permian, the whole U.S. drilling rig count is down about 14%. The Permian is only, quote unquote, down 10%. The real wipeout has occurred across the gas-focused basins. We've seen nominally 30% drops in both the Haynesville and up in Appalachia, and that has come on the heels of incredibly weak gas prices to start the year. Gas prices have since recovered a little bit. They're still not in super healthy territory for gas drillers, but they're better than they were at the beginning of the year. And so there's reason to be optimistic that we wouldn't expect more rig count plummets from here. For the E&Ps, certainly hoping that you get a steady state of activity and maybe some growth as we get toward the end of the year into next year. But the point is that the U.S. land market is not a growth market right now for activity. And in fact, it's just the opposite. We're seeing more rig count declines over the past 3 months. My second post was about U.S. oilfield wages. And there, on an inflation adjusted basis, both extraction wages and support activities wages are still below their peaks that set in late 2019 and early 2020. That also is not surprising given that employment across the oil field has stagnated, if not dropped a bit. We, of course, have the consolidation push that's going on that creates more possibilities for operators and service companies that are involved in mergers to eliminate redundant positions, which drives down headcount. And with a smaller demand for labor, you would expect wages to moderate or to even come down on an inflation adjusted basis. So if you're in the oil field and it feels like wages haven't quite kept up with inflation and you're just not used to this trajectory given what had happened over the course of the 10 prior years before the pandemic, you're right. The wage trajectory in the oil field is very different today. And the post I wrote, I went through some of the data and explained a little bit of the nuance there. My third post was about AI adoption in the oil field. We just got new Dallas Fed Energy Survey results this week, and they asked a couple of special questions around AI adoption. And we saw that nominally half of oil field companies, both E&Ps and service companies, are not using AI today and do not plan to use AI in the next 12 months, which leaves half that are either using it or do plan to use it pretty soon. It's a pretty fascinating result, given the all the popularity around the AI conversation and the opportunity to drive business performance improvement there. Of course, because AI is a buzzword and it's a bit of a bust or a bubble these days, that people are skeptical about whether, how much there is there to AI. And how difficult is it going to be to achieve real business results, knowing so much of the conversation lacks real substance and real possibility, frankly, that there's just a conversation that's a lot of buzz today. So I appreciate some of the skepticism that exists around that. And yet, if that skepticism, if you lean too hard into that skepticism, you can create real performance gaps relative to your competitors that are willing to go through all of the noise to get to the signal in AI and find ways to improve their business performance. So we are at an interesting point in the AI journey for the oil field, and kudos to the Dallas Fed Energy Survey for asking some of those questions and giving us some interesting data to pour through as a result. The Foundations of Energy is my paid Substack newsletter that I built as a learning and development resource for energy professionals. This week, we started to tear through the recently released Statistical Review of World Energy. My first post was all about the Statistical Review, what it is, the vocabulary we need to talk about it, what's in it. My second post was a survey of the hydrocarbon landscape around the world, country by country, what's happened to oil use, gas use, coal use, where is it growing around the world, and what's that telling us about how energy systems are evolving. So those are my two Foundations of Energy posts that went up this week. And next week, I will do a similar survey, but on the renewable side. We'll look for renewables, including hydroelectric. We'll look at nuclear, and we'll compare and contrast that with what we saw on the hydrocarbon side. So if you're not subscribed to Foundations of Energy, it's on Substack. I highly recommend you check it out. And if it's for you, jump on in. Each week, I send out a free weekly newsletter that I call The Business of Energy. And it includes links to and summaries of all the research that I publish online during the week. So if that is something that interests you, I encourage you to sign up. I also include an energy related anecdote, insight, or observation that I don't share anywhere else. That way, if you've already seen all the stuff that I've published online, you'll still have something new to read in the newsletter. You can find the link in my profile. I will also put it down below. As always, thanks so much for reading, watching, liking, commenting, all of it. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a fantastic week, and we will talk soon.